Then in this video, I'm going to be giving you the exact checklist that you need to make sure that you go through and complete before you conduct any type of outreach. Basically, what this checklist is going to enable you to do is ensure that you're getting the best output from the time that you're putting into your from the time that you're putting into your outreach. See, the issue that I see a lot of people do is that they're telling me that, oh, I'm working so much, I'm doing so much outreach, I've sent 9,000 emails and I'm just not getting any responses, I'm not getting any results. Well, the issue is, it doesn't matter if you've sent 9,000 emails. If you're going about things in the wrong way, then you could send 900,000 emails and you're still not gonna get any results. So in this video, as I say, I'm gonna give you the checklist that you need to go through and ensure that you've got in order to be eking out the best possible results that you can from your e-commerce outreach. Now, as always, guys, these videos do take quite a while to make. And actually, this isn't my main business, right? My main business is running my agency, and doing these videos does take away from running my agency. So all I ask in return is that you take a split second to go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. You guys know it hugely helps out with the YouTube algorithm, and it makes me far more motivated to continue putting out content of this nature in terms of growing, scaling your agency to 10, 20, 30, 50, 100K a month. So now that you smashed the like button and you've subscribed to the channel, let's get straight into the video. So I want to go through, there's a couple areas, namely three, and we're going to start off with lead sourcing, and then we're going to go through all the way to the back end of what happens after, you've sent your sequence out. Usually people have around maybe 3, 4, 5-part email sequence. So I want to go through, start at lead sourcing, go through the sequence itself, and then have a look in the back end, what happens after you've sent your 3, 4, 5 emails. Is that lead then get lost forever, or what are we doing at that point? So I want to go through essentially everything. So as I say, let's start with lead sourcing. Now, with lead sourcing, there's two things that you want to ensure that you have in place with lead sourcing. There's two kind of checklist points. There's 2 points with lead sourcing. The first one is that you're getting quality leads, qualified leads. I cannot stress how important it is that your leads are qualified. I do not care how good your service delivery is. I don't care how good your email outreach sequence is, or your LinkedIn outreach, or your Instagram outreach, or your whatever it is, right? I don't care. I don't care. If you're reaching out to the wrong leads, or you're hopping on sales calls with the wrong leads, the wrong brands, you're never gonna have a successful agency, right? They have to be qualified. They have to have a good proof of concept. They have to have a good product market fit. They have to have a good, converting sales process. They have to have a product that's got strong USPs, because if they don't, right, you're never going to be able to get any good results. I don't care how good your marketing is. I'll tell you guys right now, myself and the team at Bax Consulting cannot get any and every brand amazing results. It's physically impossible. So you need to make sure that you're only ever reaching out to the brands who can actually get good results. Now I'll probably put like a tag thing for another video, or whatever you call it, because I've got a lot of other videos on this channel that go through the specific things that I'm talking about. For example, qualifying leads, or finding the qualified leads, right? And also finding them at scale, because that's the second point on the checklist for the lead sourcing aspect. You need to have qualified leads coming through at a consistent rate. You can't reach out to one qualified lead a month. It's just not going to work. It won't work, right? You may again have amazing sequence, but if you're only reaching out to one lead a month, or one lead a week, or 10 leads a week, it's just not enough. Outreach, it is a numbers game at the end of the day, right? I always say that quality over quantity, but at the end of the day, it's a matter of quality and quantity. It's a matter of combining the two. When you combine the two, that's when you've kind of cracked the code, right? So qualified leads and ensuring that they're coming through consistently. Now, how do you get qualified leads consistently? Well, when you're starting out, you want to manually do it, right? Because you've probably not got too deep of pockets, and you want to try and save all the money that you've got. So you can do it yourself. And you can leverage the videos on this channel. Obviously, if you're in the quantum agency program, you guys have no issue finding qualified leads at scale. But once you start to get a couple clients come through, and you start to have more important activities that you need to be doing instead of lead sourcing, when you're starting out, the most important thing that you ought to be doing is lead sourcing and getting clients on board, client acquisition. But when you start getting clients on board, you're 3, 4, 5 clients deep, you putting your time onto lead sourcing probably isn't the most effective use of your time. And also that's the point that you actually have money coming in. So you can then start to have a look at bringing on a lead sourcer or a VA, right? And then once you've got a solid system down packed, then you can look into end-to-end appointment setters who, reach out and actually set the meeting as well. But to start off with, lead sourcer or a VA who does the lead sourcing for you, that's how you can have your qualified leads come through, because they follow the system that you put in place, the system that we go through in the Quantum Agency program. They follow that system step by step, and that's what their full-time job is. They're doing that all day, every day, and they're just basically pumping leads over to you, putting them into a Google spreadsheet, putting them into Lemlist, whatever it is that you use. They're just pumping those over to you, and that's where your quality and consistency comes from with your lead sourcing. So they're the 2 points that you need to make sure that you're checking off with your lead sourcing. So now that you've got 100, 200, 300, 500, 50, however many leads, and they're all qualified, right? Now what do? Well, now we need to look at outreaching to them. So again, there's quite a couple points here that I want to cover with email outreach. The first one is the subject line, okay? With the subject line, you need to have a subject line that sparks interest and that gets people to open the email, okay? If nobody's opening your email, again, it doesn't matter what you go through in the email, nobody's reading it, right? So ideally, you want to be looking at 75+% open rate. That's an ideal open rate. Sometimes it can dip. Anything below 65%, you want to look at changing up your subject line. But ideally, you want to be hitting around a 75%. Now, you've got to remember, keep in the back of your mind, as you start to ramp up your outreach, you may start, if you're only sending 10 emails a day, you could have 100% open rate. I've got campaigns, that have 100% open rate, but there's only maybe 50 emails sent. There's only maybe 100 emails sent. It's not, big numbers. But when you start to get to the point where you've got your burner accounts and your Lemlist accounts, your burners in your Lemlist, and you're sending, a couple hundred a day, getting 100% open rate is near impossible. So that's where, 65% is okay, right? Where it dips below to, as I say, around 65% is okay. Anything below 65%, you need to look at changing it, right? So with your subject lines themselves, you need to spark curiosity and you need to make them want to click your email. Now, in terms of open rates, you also need to ensure that your email deliverability is on point. If your emails are going into spam, then your subject lines could be the best in the world. But I don't know about you guys, I never check my spam, okay? So you need to make sure that your emails are running smoothly and they're efficient and they're effective and they're not going into spam. And then once you know that your emails are going to the inbox, then you can make sure that your subject lines are on point. If they spark curiosity, they catch they catch the person's attention and they're like, oh, what's that email? Who's that from? Then they're gonna open it. So that's the first, I suppose that's 2 checklists, right? Subject line that sparks curiosity and email deliverability. 2 checklist points there, right? 2 points there. So now they're open the email. So we've reached out to a qualified brand. And we've now sent that qualified owner an email and it's gone to their inbox and they've opened the email. What's the next thing they see? The next thing they see is the first couple lines, right? When somebody opens an email, they'll see a wall of text or a good amount of text, but they're not gonna read all of that text. They're not gonna consume that entire piece of text instantly. What they're going to consume first, as you probably kind of guessed, they're going to consume those first 1 to 2 sentences. And those 1 to 2 sentences is what gets the prospect hooked in, and that's what gets them to read the rest of the email. They're not going to consume it entirely first, but the first 2 sentences will depict if they do end up consuming the entire email. So you want to make sure that they're either personalized or it's something else that sparks the curiosity. If you want to go 100% email script, that's fine. We've got a campaign running right now that is actually 100% scripted. There's no personalization whatsoever except the name and whatnot, but you can do that, that's not manually done. That's put in the script, right? And, it's actually doing pretty well. Open rates aren't that great. Open rates are around, I think they're around 66 to 70%, I believe, in that range. But my reply rate is 11%, right? Which is pretty good. My CTR, I think, is around 7%. And I've actually had a booked meeting already come through and we launched this a couple days ago, right? And we've only sent, as I say, we've sent, I think around 65 emails right now. So it's not too bad, right? The numbers aren't too terrible. And that's from 100% scripted email. So, they can still work, but honestly, if you can, then you ought to make sure that that first line is personalized because that's where you get the best results. That's where you get the best responses. That's where you get the most meeting booked. And that's really where you're hitting that ideal KPI of outreach, which is around 3% meeting book rate. That's super ideal for your outreach, right? So, and what that means, by the way, is out of every 100 emails, you're getting 3 calls booked, right? That's super super ideal. And as I say, the best way to do that is going about your personalization and that personalized first line. Now that personalized first line should be done in the lead sourcing section. So when your lead sourcer, your VA or yourself is going through and collating all of these leads, you want to put, obviously you want the brand name, you want the owner's email, and you want obviously the owner's name as well. And also you want to have another column that is that first line. And then when you upload it to your, whatever sort of email automation software you're using or whatever it is, or you're sending it out manually, it doesn't matter. You can then, you've got that first personalized line, you just literally copy paste and it goes straight in. With Lemlist, it does it automatically. So you want to do that in your lead sourcing. Now, after we've opened up with that first personalized line, the goal of it, if you've done it correctly, then it should have hooked them in, because it's personal to them. They think you wrote the entire email, right? So it's personal to them, and that's where they then get, as I say, they get hooked in, and then we move on to the second section of the email, which is basically, I would say, the start of like the real body of it. And this bit, this section all the way through to the finish of the email, this bit can be scripted, because to be honest, you're going to say the same thing to every prospect anyway. Even if you was to sit down and write out each individual email, you're still going to say the same thing. You're still going to get the same point across, because at the end of the day, every brand is an e-commerce brand that you're reaching out to, and majority, as a rule of thumb, majority of e-commerce owners and whatnot experience the same issues, experience the same problems. So you can kind of, you can script the rest of the email. So this next bit is where now you're going to start to look at heightening their pain. And I did another video entirely on email structure and how you can structure your emails in the best way. So make sure you go ahead and watch that after you've watched this video. This next point that you ought to tick off on the checklist is making sure that you heighten their pain, because nobody really ever makes decisions or nobody's ever motivated like they are when they feel pain and they can see that, the call to action, which we'll get onto, the call to action is going to alleviate that pain, right? So if we can heighten the pain, and then we can position we can position the CTA of the email as a way that's going to alleviate that pain, then that's when they're going to take action. That's when you can see crazy click-through rates, crazy reply rates, because they're like, oh yeah, actually I feel pain. Okay, I need to get onto this person because they're going to help alleviate that pain. That's when you see these crazy numbers. That's when you get 11% reply rate. That's when you get, almost a 10% click-through rate on your emails. And that's where also the back end comes into play, which I'm going to get onto here in a minute. So that's the second part of the email. And now once we've heightened that pain, now we can look at, remedies to the pain and alleviating the pain. So from there, you want to go into your solution, and the solution to the pain is tied in with your offer. Okay, what your agency can provide, because the pain that you've just kind of invoked in that client should be something along the lines of them losing a tremendous amount of money, should be something about the fact that they're not getting the most out of Facebook ads or paid advertising as a whole as they can, right? And what your agency can do is increase their efficiency with paid traffic, increase their return, take them from a 2 ROAS on $100 a day to a 3 ROAS at $1,000 a day, for example. So you can really tie it in, and each point sets up the next one very, very nicely. So then you can go into your solution, and that ties in with your offer. And then once you've kind of talked about the solution and your offer, which is what your agency does, your agency tagline, then you can go straight into your CTA, which is what you want them to do. Why, in the ideal world, if they read that email, what is the next step that you want them to take? Do you want them to book in a call directly? Do you want them to respond back to a question that you've asked? That could be a CTA, right? You ask them a question. Maybe you want them to respond in a way that, shows that they're interested in you sending them over some sort of case study or some sort of audit or some sort of value proposition or whatever it is. And then from that point onwards, then you can book the call. Whatever your CTA is, that's when you want to go into that. After you've highlighted the pain, you've gone through a solution and you've positioned your offer, and then your CTA also kind of ties in with that same solution. That's how you get those, as I said before, really, really high numbers with your outreach. You highlight the pain, and then the solution is what you have to offer. The solution is, they're going to get a remedy. Their pain is going to get alleviated if they take action. That's where those crazy numbers come from. Okay, so that's kind of the checklist that you need to be making sure that you're ticking off inside the email itself. And as I say, I did another video on the channel going through how to get e-com clients through email outreach, something like that on the channel. Make sure you go ahead and watch that after this video, as I said, because that's going to give you an entire kind of just black and white structure to follow. And I also give you templated emails in there as well. So we've been talking about sending emails and getting meetings booked directly from those emails being sent. Now, the issue is we're sending, once you get fully ramped with your emails, you want to be sending around 500 a week, right? And you can start to really, really ramp up. Once you get to 500 a week, you're hitting KPIs and whatnot. But if you're sending like 100 emails a day, for example, 125, 150 emails a day, not every single person is going to be in the buying window. Now, what I mean when I say buying window is kind of like, some people are with an agency right now. They're with an agency and they're in a 3-6 month contract and they're in month 4, right? Even if they wanted to move forward, they physically can't because they're contracted in with this other agency. They physically can't, they physically can't stay transition to you and become a client of your agency. So it doesn't matter how good your outreach is, doesn't matter how good your offer is and how good you highlighted the pain and all, it doesn't matter. If they can't move forward with you at that point, they're not going to move forward with you. Now, some people will still respond and show interest and tell you their situation, but then others may not. Others may be like, oh, it's another agency reaching out. I love the way that it's talked about that, or I love that, or I think that's perfect. But we're with this agency, we're with X agency, and we can't move forward, so I'll just click away, right? But they still love the way that you went about things, and they may not be happy with their current agency. And bear in mind, this is just one example. So that lead is 100% a potential client, just not right now. So if you only send your 4 emails, if you only send your 3-part email sequence or your 5-part or whatever it is, right? There's still a lot of money being left on the table for you, right? It's ironic because we always reach out to clients and say like, look, you're leaving so much money on the table, you could be doing X, Y, and Z and whatnot. But a lot of the time, you got to realize that depending on how you structure your outreach sequences and stuff and your entire client acquisition as overall, you could be leaving a lot of money on the table yourself. So you always want to be having a look at SPCs, right? Strategic prospecting campaigns. What goes on in the back end? What happens after the 5 emails, the 4 emails, the 3 emails, whatever it is? What goes on then? What happens with the leads who show interest? What happens with the leads who show interest without directly telling you about the interest that they have, right? As I said before, on some of our campaigns right now, I'm getting like almost a 10% click-through rate. The only links that I've got in my email is either a booked call, my scheduler link, which goes to my website and the scheduler page, or I've got my website funnel, my website sales funnel in the signature of my email. That's the only other link I've got. And with something like Lemlist, you can see exactly what links they actually clicked. So with that, like they've gone to my website, they've gone through, they've consumed stuff, maybe they've opted in, right? They've opted into the VSL. This stuff is slightly high level, right? This is what I go through in Centurion Agency, but it's still applicable for you, and it's still important for you to understand no matter what stage of your agency you're at. So then in the back end, if they opt in, right? For example, they go straight into a 31-day email sequence that I've set up, right? And again, if you're in Centurion Agency, you get that entire 31-day email sequence. You just import it straight into your active campaign. And then also, even if they don't opt into anything, well, they've still gone to my website. They've still got pixeled on both Facebook and Google, right? And so now I can put them through my retargeting funnel, and now I'm hitting them every single day. So I don't care if they're not in the buying window right now, because in, however many months, however many days, however many weeks, when they are in the buying window, they'll see my ad. Right? I reached out to them 6 months ago, and today they're wanting to move forward. They've just ended their relationship with the previous agency who didn't deliver. Now they're seeing my amazing case studies that we're getting clients. They're seeing the results that we're getting. They're seeing the testimonials that all this stuff. They're now seeing it when they are in the buying window. And because I've set that kind of campaign up in the back end, now they'll come on as a client, right? Or at least they'll book in a call, right? And then from there, they'll go into another sequence. And then from there, I've got them in another way. And they're going to have an hour call with myself, a 45-minute call with myself. And it's pretty likely that they're going to sign on board, because also on top of all of that, we've got an irresistible offer. We've got an offer that no other agency can really do, because we're so confident in our services, right? That we offer clients. I literally had a call this morning with a client, is a prospect, and he's working with the current agency right now. Like I literally hopped on a sales call yesterday morning with a client, and he's working with the current agency as well. They're doing okay. They're getting some, pretty good results, but this client, or the prospect, I should say, feels as though he could be eking a lot more results out of the ads that they're running, right? They're doing okay, but he feels like they could be getting more. And so I talked to him about our offer and why we do it. And he was curious. He was like, why did you transition from, 8,000 a month retainers, 4,000 a month retainers, 7,000 a month retainers to 100% performance based? And I told him, and he absolutely loved it. So because we've created an irresistible offer, it's almost impossible. It's very difficult for the client to not want to sign on board. And we can get those clients, and we can really, eke out as much efficiency from the lead sourcing, from the outreach that we do, by having these prospecting campaigns set up in the back end, having these touch points set up in the back end. So that is kind of, what was that? I don't know what number checklist point that was, but that's the final checklist point that you want to ensure that you're ticking off when it comes to your outreach. So I know I went through a lot. I went through kind of everything from obviously lead sourcing all the way through to, you know, 6 months later down the line after you reach out to that qualified lead in the beginning. So there's a lot there. I apologize if kind of information dumped onto you, but I hope you found value. And as always, if you did, make sure you smash the like button and you subscribe to the channel. It hugely helps me out and makes me want to keep publishing these types of videos, keep making these videos for you. It motivates me a lot when I see these like 100 likes, 200 likes, and like, you know, very few dislikes. It really shows me that you guys are loving the content, and that motivates me to make more. So make sure you go ahead, smash the like button, and you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any other uploads that I do. And yeah, with that being said, I will see you in the next video.